Okay, so I got my pillow so I can prop it up and I can be comfortable telling you about basically our 4 years of darkness and basic 7 years total of just transition. Now, the topic of choice is what were the hardest years of marriage for me, and how did we overcome it? What did we do to resolve it? And where are we now? So, the first thing I did was I talked to my husband last night and I asked him, I said, babe, what years do you think were the hardest years of marriage for you? Because I have an idea in my head already what were the hardest years for me. I just want to know from you, what do you think? And he said, it definitely started in 2009. And I said, me and you are dead on. Like, for sure, that's really when it started. At the end of, so let me go back, 2008, my son was born in February, and my mother-in-law, let me see, let me get this right. So my son was born in 2008, and then a few months after he was born, my mother-in-law passed away. And then we also purchased our home in 2009. So we were first-time homeowners. We had just bought our first house together. And then all of a sudden, he lost his job. And he was laid off from that job, got another job, got terminated from that job. Then I got laid off from my job because the property that I had been working on for years, the company sold to another company, and I was still in property management at the time. So then I lost my job. Now I'm out of work, he's out of work, and we both are reeling with, the difficulties of having a new mortgage, a new child on top of our daughter, and just boggled down in bills. So I did get a bonus for staying on through the sale of the property, and that kind of helped us get through a little bit. But once those funds were depleted, I needed to go back to work. So now I'm bouncing around from management company to management company, and I cannot find a company who can adequately make me feel comfortable in the way that I felt giving all the years of tenure that I had with my previous property management company. And so that caused me to get fired from another company and another company. And at this point, I am just struggling. And he is also in property management, but he works on the maintenance side of it. So we are just learning that, the way things were set up in Atlanta when we were doing property management versus the way things are set up in Texas, it's a whole nother ball game. And it's a whole nother game of politics and sabotage that we really were not prepared for. So finally, so we're dealing with that. On top of that, now he is working through his business venture to try and get his business off the ground. So that is requiring a lot of time of him. Now, if you guys don't know, I am from Kansas City, but I moved to Texas with my husband because that's where he had roots set up. That's where all his family is from. That's where all his friends are from. That's where he went to, that this is his home. And so when we came here, he was my only connection to the city besides my sister friend who lived on the other side of town, and we very rarely got to see each other. Me and her met in Atlanta, but she was actually from Houston as well. So I don't have family here. I don't have friends here. And I was kind of just lonely because now he's throwing himself into his business endeavors, trying to, make a way for us, trying to provide for us, and he doesn't have time anymore. So I became lonely in the relationship, and I didn't do anything crazy, but I'm just, at first I'm waiting around like a little puppy, like, when's he coming home? When's he coming home? Then maybe we can go here, maybe we could do this. In my mind, I'm thinking that we can spend time together. And when he comes home, he's exhausted because he worked his job all day, and then he had business to take care of after work, and now he has nothing left over. And so, you know, of course, I'm doing my part as the mom or whatever. I'm taking care of our kids and stuff, and that gives me joy, and I'm excited to be with them. But I still want adult companionship, if you know what I mean. And I don't want adult companionship just through us engaging in the act of, you know, sex or whatever. I want adult companionship in terms of us dating like how we used to date when we lived in Atlanta. We had money and we had time and we had, you know, he didn't have so many things going on. So the business became, in my opinion, the mistress or the woman, and I became the mistress. I don't know. I feel like maybe I took a back seat to the marriage over the business. And so that became a real issue for us. On top of the fact that he had lost his mom, we have a brand new son. We're dealing with the financial, you know, distraughts of unemployment and the instability of finances because of all of these things. And so I call this period the 4 years of darkness, because this went on for about 4 years. And we didn't start to come out of it until after the 4th year, but it took us an additional 3 years, so technically 7 years of going through this before we found a good rhythm. So we've only going to be married about 15 years in April, and half of those years were spent struggling with how to learn each other, number one, and struggling with all the things that were piled onto us that were above our ability to prevent it from happening, is basically what happened. So here's what happened. I went home one summer. I think this was in 2015 or 16. I went home one summer and I said, I'm not coming back. I am going to come here, find somewhere for me to stay, bring the children here, and if you want to come, come. And if you don't want to come, I understand. But either way, I'm not coming back. So we were having conversations back and forth over the phone about it. And, you know, finally he was like, I just want you to come home. Like, can you please just come home so that we can talk about it in person? And then if you decide that you don't want to stay here in Houston anymore, because I started to develop seasonal depression. Like every time during the school year would come around and I was not able to like leave and go elsewhere, I would be depressed or whatever. And so, you know, I just told him, like, I'm not happy in Houston anymore. I hate Houston. I hate that we ever came here. I wish that, you know, we had stayed in Atlanta where we were, because we were on neutral territory. We got here, you kind of changed it up with this whole business thing. And now I'm just basically here in this city and state by myself with your people. You know, yes, they are family to me. Yes, we get along and we have a good time, but it is not your family's responsibility to make me feel comfortable when that's what you're supposed to do. That's what we used to do before we got here. So I don't want to be in Houston anymore. I'm done with this place. There's nothing here for me. I've not had great experiences since I've been here, financially or, you know, emotionally, and I just don't want to be in this place anymore. I'm blaming everything on Houston, but really I'm upset with him for his role in it. And I am also disappointed in the fact that things didn't work out for me as well as they did when I moved to Atlanta. And I was able to, you know, just jump in the swing of things and go to college, have a good job, and be okay. I still struggled through some of those things, but I was able to create a life for myself in Atlanta that I'm not able to create here in Houston, and I don't understand why. So now I want to leave it. So he told me, he was like, can you just come home? Can we talk about it in person? Now, I'm an adult, obviously, and I've got to do the responsible thing. So I hop back on the flight and I come home. We sit down, and he basically tells me, he was like, you know, I feel like I'm losing you. I understand now how you feel. He was like, I've just been trying to get this money so that I can make sure that we're good and that you're taken care of and the kids are taken care of, because obviously there's no life without money. That's the way things work here. He was like, but I didn't get married to get divorced. And he comes from a 2-parent household where they were married all the way up until his mother passed away. And I come from a broken home where my parents were divorced after about 2 years. So, long story short, um, he tells me what he needs, and I explain to him that I need you to be um, pursuant of a healthy work relationship balance. I need to know that I matter to you beyond just being able to be provided for. I need to know that you can make time or set time available for us to be together. And if you can't do that, then I don't want to be here anymore, because I'm tired of taking a back seat to the business. I'm tired of feeling like the business comes first, and then whatever you have left over to give me and the kids, then you do. Like, I can't do that type of relationship anymore. It's just too stressful for me. And so he agreed that he would create, a better system of how to still do his business, still go to his full-time job, and on top of that, have, time for us to be together. And he did. He did make good on that promise. I think he really understood that I didn't have very much longer to go before I was very solid in my decision to leave. And so I think he understood that, and he wanted to prevent that from happening. So he did create a relationship for us. He put himself on a schedule, basically, of this is when I work, this is when I do my business, and these are the days that are dedicated to us. And I've been very much more happier since he did that. In terms of the finances, we just basically rocked with the boat until we found a stable ground. We both got out of property management because that was just serving us no benefit here in Houston, like it was in Atlanta. And so he ended up going in a different direction, and I went into retail and found a stable part-time job with a company that I still work with to this day. Because I'm only part-time, we had to go down in vehicle, which helped us because at one point we had 2 cars. So we were paying for 2 car notes, 2 insurances, 2 registration fees, 2 this, 2 that, 2 sets of tires, 2 brakes, all this kind of stuff. And it just was so expensive and we could not afford it. So we decided to downsize to 1 nice vehicle. And that's how we've been rocking for the past 6 or 7 years or so. And it's been great because that put money back into our disposable income. That allowed us to basically pay off some debts that we had, free up some money for us to be able to date and go out and hang out and do leisure things with the children. And so that worked out, and it was a transition. So we came out of the 4 years basically, and the 4 years of darkness is what I call it. And then the last 3 was just our transitional years, getting into our rhythm. So now we are literally just coasting. We've been coasting ever since 2016. We've learned to find our balance. Things just kind of flow the way they flow. We're not arguing and fighting or upset with one another like how we used to be. And I really enjoy this part of our marriage. Like, I think that this is so awesome that, I just get to talk to my best friend when he comes home from work, or when I get home from work. We get to laugh, get on each other's nerves, kiki, cut it up a little bit, and date, have time together, spend time with our children. And there's just no stress of like what we had when we went through our hardest years of marriage. So I don't want to keep it any longer, but this is my confession of a middle-aged housewife. First episode. I hope you like it, and I'll be back with many more things that I want to talk about in the future. Bye.